Hello everyone, my name is Electoli and I am a faculty of English at Edufy. Thank you again for joining me today for another session to learn about grammar. And today we're going to talk about the topic of adjectives. So let's not waste any time and move on to the topic. Let's talk about what are adjectives. Adjectives are basically parts of speech that we use in any sentences that we would like to, but then they perform a certain function. And what is that function? They perform the function of descriptive words. That means they are the words that are used to describe. And what do they describe? They describe nouns. So let's take a look at three main examples here in the sentence. These are very simple examples that you can learn from. So, three examples. If you see here, we say three nouns in this examples, right? So what you find is apple, teacher, and road. What you will see again with these nouns are descriptive words. That means the words that give you more information about the noun. And what are those words? Words like red, angry, and longest. They are telling you about what the color of the noun is, what is the emotion of the teacher, and what length or what is the quality or the quantity of the road. So, what you can see here is the words that are being used to describe the nouns, right? So, they are all what? Adjectives. Angry, longest, and red are all considered as adjectives. Why? Because they are coming with a noun to describe the noun and give you more information about the noun. So, adjectives, what will they answer? They answer a various number of questions about the nouns. And what are they? They answer the question of what type of noun or what kind of noun. If I say an honest man, we are talking about a man, which is a noun, common noun, right? Again, we see that there is a descriptive word describing of what kind of a man he is, an honest man or woman, right? A brave soldier, if I say. Again, I'm talking about what kind of a soldier? A brave soldier. If I say a simple woman, again, I'm talking about what kind of a woman she is? A simple woman, a kind woman, right? So, kind, simple, honest, brave, these are all adjectives being used to describe the nouns. You may find such examples in various numbers of sentences across the globe. You will, whenever you talk about certain things or certain topics with your friends, you will always try to use adjectives to describe more about the subject, right? And therefore, that is why adjectives are very important in their usage. What you can find here is also the fact that they also answer the question of which one. For example, if I say, I have that dress. So, dress is a noun, right? And I'm talking about me having which one? That dress. Again, if I say, I have a red dress, which dress do I have? A red dress. So they answer the question of what kind and which one as well. Also, you will find another question being answered with adjectives, and that is how many nouns. Let's say there are 60 students, right? Where is the noun in the sentence? Can you identify? Students. So, students is being described or given more information, right? When you find that there is more information about the students, you will find that there is an adjective. And what is that more information? This one. 60 is talking about how many students are there. There are 60 students. If I say there, she drank 2 cups of coffee. Can you find the noun in the sentence? Yes, right? 2 cups. Cups is the noun here. We understand coffee as well, but here there's only one word that is being used to describe or give you more information about the noun, and that is 2 cups, giving you more information about the noun, right? So therefore, this one will also be considered as an adjective. So what you find here is that adjectives, they perform a very important function of giving you more information about the noun, they describe about the noun, and also the fact that they make your sentences more meaningful and a little bit more colorful. So if you're writing essays or if you're writing any type of paraphrasing also, when you use adjectives, you give more information as well as make your sentence more appealing to people, those who are reading your sentences. They also answer the question of whose noun. So this has a lot to do with possession or ownership. Now, what does this mean? Whose pen? For example, you have a pen and you're talking about the pen belonging to someone, right? If you say, this pen belongs to him, right? So here we have pen, okay, which is a noun. And I'm pointing towards the pen. Yes or no? So this one is talking about which one? This much is clear. But then if I say the pen is his, now I'm pointing towards whose pen it is. So therefore, this one becomes an adjective. Talking about what? The fact that the pen belongs to this one. If I say, give me my bag. Again, in this sentence, we have a noun. Which word is talking about or giving you information about whose bag it is? My bag, right? So this one also becomes an adjective talking about whose bag it is. That means who does the bag belong to? My. It's me, right? So therefore, if you want to understand adjectives, make sure that you look for the noun. And any word that is related to that noun and giving you more information about the noun will be understood as an adjective. Now let's move on to the next part. Let's see in this example, 3 tired penguins danced in the snow. When you see this example, can you identify how many adjectives are there in this sentence? There are 2 adjectives in this sentence. I hope you've seen this one. 3 and tired. 3 is talking about how many penguins, and tired is talking about what kind of penguin, right? So what you see here is 3 tired penguins dance in the snow. We see one noun, that is penguins, but you have 2 adjectives in the sentence, which therefore lets us go and move into the next part, and that is adjectives, different types. That means what are the different types? Like I said, adjectives do not just come as one part of speech. They have various types. They come in various forms. Therefore, we have to look at what are the different forms of adjectives. First and foremost is the descriptive and qualitative adjective. Descriptive, I think it's clear through the name itself. They describe the noun and also talk about the quality of the noun. If I say an honest man, as stated in the earlier example, right? An honest man. So what am I saying? I am describing the man, what kind of a man he is, right? The quality of his character is he is honest. So therefore, honest becomes an adjective. And what type of adjective? It becomes a descriptive adjective. Let's take a look at this example. The soft pillow made me sleepy. Now, what you will find here is there is an example of an adjective, right? And what is that adjective? Which word is giving you more information about the noun? There are how many adjectives in this sentence? 2, right? Or is it just 1? In this sentence, we have only 1 adjective. A lot of people might consider this as a adjective as well. However, when we see this, the soft pillow made me sleepy, right? So this one is talking about me, a pronoun. Okay, whereas soft pillow is talking about this noun. So what you find here, the soft pillow, here it is talking about the pillow and describing the pillow. What kind of a pillow is it? It's a soft pillow. This one is not an adjective because it's talking about the action. So therefore this one becomes an adverb, talking about the action that is making me sleepy, right? So this one is not an adjective, but rather an adverb. Just remember this thing. The fact is, when we have descriptive or qualitative adjective, they describe or qualify the noun. So we can move on to the next type, and that is quantitative adjectives. Quantitative adjectives tells us how much or how many. So here you can see she has 3 cats and some time. 3 cats and some time. What you will find here is it's talking about the quantity, right? How many? Okay, it's answering the question of how many. 3 cats. And also answering the question of how much. That means how much? Some time. How much time? Some time. How many cats? 3 cats. So basically, three and some are adjectives talking about the nouns cats and time. So please remember this one when we talk about quantitative adjectives. Let's move on to the next type, that is demonstrative adjectives. Demonstrative adjectives are basically 4 words only: this, that, these, and those. So when you have these 4, you will see that I like these shoes, not those. What do? They are pointing towards the noun, pointing out a specific noun. That is understood as demonstrative adjectives. I like these shoes. Shoes are nouns, right? I not those. So these and those are what? Demonstrative adjectives. Both of these words are actually pointing towards the noun that is the shoes, right? What you can see, the difference here is that distance. When I say I like these shoes, it means that something that is near me or something that I have for me. Whereas those, I'm pointing towards something that is further away from me. That is the only difference when we talk about demonstrative adjectives between these and those. Both of them are plural adjectives because shoes are plural in the sentence, therefore I've used plural adjectives. If this was a singular noun, then I will use a singular demonstrative adjective. And what is that? This and that. So I can write this sentence like, I like this shoe, not that. Right? So what you can see, the difference here is that the difference is the distance. That is talking about something that is further away from me, and this is talking about something that is nearer to me. The only difference is that distance. But they are talking about one noun. Okay, if it's talking about more than 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 nouns, you will have to use the plural adjective, that is these and those. So I hope you're clear about this. Let's move on to the next type of adjective, and that is possessive adjectives. Possessive adjectives are there in the word used to describe themselves, and that is possession, ownership, owning something. Okay, so here you will find the various examples of possessive adjectives: my, your, his, her, their, are. Okay, in this sentence, a lot of times people confuse this with possessive pronouns as well, but the main difference is that here you will see that your is written and not yours, right? If it is yours, then it'll become a possessive pronoun. But since it is not so, without the S, you will have a possessive adjective. Also, you'll have to remember possessive pronouns are replacement of nouns, right? But in this case, here, you will find that it is coming with the noun, showing you who the noun belongs to. Your dog, that means the dog belongs to you. Whenever I use the word your, I'm talking about your possession of the dog. So please remember this. Whenever you're trying to show possession of a noun, you can always use possessive adjectives like my, your, his, her, their, or are. Let's move on to the another type of adjective, and that is interrogative adjectives. It's there in the word itself. Interrogative adjective means asking questions. Asking questions about who? About the nouns. They are always used in questions. What you can find here is, which dress are you wearing? Here also again, it's asking the question of which. It's an interrogative adjective. How is it an adjective? Because it is asking the question about the noun, that is the dress. So please make sure that you remember these various types of adjectives. The first one is descriptive, describing the noun. Next one is quantitative, that is talking about how much or how many noun. Demonstrative is basically pointing out the noun. So you have forwards, this, that, and these and those. Next, we have possessive adjective. Possessive adjectives talks about your ownership. So if you're owning a noun, right, or you're talking about someone owning the noun, then you will have to use the possessive adjectives. And the last one is the interrogative adjectives. They talk about what? Ask questions. They ask questions about the nouns. So if you have questions that are asking about the noun, then you will consider them as interrogative adjectives. So with this, we have ended the different types of adjectives, right? Let's move on to another topic, and that is the order of adjectives. Now, the order of adjectives is very important because a lot of times we don't see, like in the earlier example that I showed you, we don't just see one adjective in sentence. We see various numbers of adjectives in a sentence. You can use 4, 5, 6, or 7 adjectives to describe your noun. So what can I do? In that case, what is the correct form or correct usage of adjectives? The correct usage, the order is very important. It makes you the order of adjectives, right? It is showing you whether these are important. And it is showing you how to write a sentence properly when you use 4 or 5 adjectives in a sentence, or maybe even 2 or 3, right? What is the correct order of writing them in a sentence? So let's take a look at this. First and foremost comes the quantity. How much noun you're talking about. Like earlier, we were talking about some, few, right? So any or much. So whenever you use that, you will have to use it in the first, as the first, it comes the first adjectives. Okay, so whenever you're writing a sentence, the quantity will come first. Next, you have opinions. Maybe you have an opinion about a noun. Let's say a kind or beautiful or handsome or maybe tall or short. So all these are what? Opinions. They are your opinions, right? So whenever you're writing an opinion about the noun, it will come the second. That means it will come after quantity. Next, we have the size. Earlier on, like we talked about size. What are the various words that talks about size? Big, small, large, hefty, right? You can talk about huge or small or tiny, little. All these are what? Sizes. So they come after the opinion. The next one is age. When you're talking about someone's or a noun's age, you're talking about maybe an antique, right? So you use an old antique. Yes or no? So old is an adjective, okay? And old will come after size. So if you have, let's say, a sentence that says, a small old vintage car. This is the correct order because we have the size first and then the age second. You cannot write this in this form. An old, small, vintage car. This one will be incorrect. Why? Because you've written the order in this way. That is why order of adjectives is important, because a lot of times you will find sentences that do not just have one adjective but rather various adjectives, right? In that case, you will have to keep this order in mind. Okay, Let's take a look another this one. Shape. After age comes shape. After shape comes color. After color comes origin. Origin is basically when we talk about an origin of a noun. Maybe we talk about European or American or Japanese, right? That means your origin. Yes or no? So these are coming after the words of color, red, green, blue, and all this. Again, we have material. Maybe you're talking about a wall, right? Uh, a red brick wall is the correct answer. Why? Because you have the color, then the material, and then the noun, that is the wall. Okay? A black wooden chair. Correct. But you cannot write a wooden black chair, will be the wrong sentence. When you're talking about a chair that is a noun, you will have to use the correct order, that is black wooden chair. Color, material, and then the noun. Again, you have purpose, and then the final one is the noun. Noun, I think we're all clear that adjectives will come before the noun, that is describing, right? And all of this, it's the order of the adjective. Now let's take a look at an example here. A beautiful small old Italian leather handbag. In this example, you find that how many adjectives are there? There are one noun. There's only one noun. Is only one noun, that is the handbag. But there are various words used to describe this noun, right? And what are they? Beautiful, small, old, Italian, leather. You can see that the order is written here. You cannot write this in the jumbled form. You will have to write it according to the order here. And the first one is that a beautiful is an opinion, right? Next one, we have small, that is the size. Then we have old, that is the age, which is the correct form or the correct order that we are seeing. Okay, Italian is the origin, right? And then we have leather, that is the material. Okay, so what you'll find here is there is a correct usage. There's a rule for correct usage of adjectives, and that is also the order of adjectives. Whenever you write a sentence and you find various adjectives in the sentence, you'll have to write them in this order. With the end of the different types of adjectives, we move on to another topic, and that is the common mistakes that we make when we use adjectives. So we have to remember two very important points, not very complicated, and that is the first one is the overusing of adjectives. When we use adjectives, a lot of times we use various adjectives. Like I said, you can use various, like it's 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 adjectives in a sentence to describe one word. But there is a very important rule, and that is overusage. Now, when I say overusage, it does not mean the different types of adjectives, but rather when you use the same types of adjectives more than twice or more than thrice, right? And that is this one. Let's take a look at this example. The really very extremely loud and shiny and bright party. It sounds very inefficient. The sentence may be correct, but the usage of adjectives here are incorrect. What you can do to change this is that you can just use one adjective to describe the party, and that is the loud, bright party. You don't have to use really, very, extremely, or shiny. That means the overusage of adjectives makes the sentence incorrect, and it sounds very inefficient when you write or when you speak. So you can always make it compact. The more compact the sentence is, the more interesting it is for a person to read or for a person to hear as well. So please make sure that when you're writing adjectives or when you're speaking adjectives, you will have to use or you try to avoid overusing adjectives. Let's move on to the second point, that is mixing the adjective types in weird order. What you have seen in the previous one is the order of adjectives as well, right? So what you see here is that a green, big, scary dragon is a wrong usage of adjectives. Why? Because according to the order of adjectives, you will have to use your size, your opinions first, size second, and then the color comes, right? But here it is written color first, then the size, then the opinion. So what you have to do is rearrange the order. Okay, and if you arrange it in the correct order, you will find that a scary big green dragon will be the correct form of adjectives. Opinions, then the size, then the color, right? This is the correct order of adjectives. So you will have to write two things when you talk about adjectives, and that is avoid the overusing of adjectives and make sure that the order is correct and not in the weird order, that is mix and match. Okay, do not mix and match the order of the adjective in a sentence. Let's take a look at this example, sentence 1 and sentence 2. You read the first sentence. She wore a silk long red dress. Can you find the error in the sentence? The error in the sentence is very apparent, right? And that is in the order of the adjectives. What you find is you find the material first, then what? The size, then the color, which is the wrong order of adjectives. If you want to write this in the correct order, you will have to write she wore, size first, then the color, then the material. So this is the correct order, whereas this one is the incorrect usage of adjectives. Okay, when you use this one is incorrect. When you use this one is the correct form. The only difference, there's no change of the words, there's no replacement of the words. The only difference is the order. So please make sure that you remember the order of the adjectives to write proper adjectives in any sentences. Let's take a look at the sentence number 2. It was a bad, boring, terrible movie. Where is the error in this sentence? I think it's very apparent according to what we talked about in the common mistakes, right? What we see here is the overusage of various adjectives that has the same meaning. This is an overusage, a classic example, okay? How do you change this? You change it by making more compact and let go of the overusage. And how do you do it? It was a terrible, boring movie. That's it. You don't have to add more like bad or extra, extremely, or nothing like that. Okay. You can always just write it in the simplest form. And that makes your sentence more compact and more easy to understand and read as well. With this, we are ending the topic of adjectives. Okay. And from the topics that we've discussed, I hope you've learned a lot about how to write adjectives in a sentence or how to use adjectives when you're speaking as well. And with this, we end the class. For more interesting topics, please join us again for another session. And thank you for joining me today. Have a nice day.